All right, what's good, everyone? Welcome to a Takeover Tuesday edition of Livewire Sports Media. I'm going to pretty much drop a little bit of our news on y'all. I came across a video on YouTube, and Jensen was talking about some of the things about the team, and she did discuss about Addie Deal, about her struggles. Now, Addie Deal, she had the exhibition game since the exhibition game. She has played a little bit well, but she hasn't played well enough. She had, as the team has got into the season, she definitely has had her struggles. Now, and coming out of high school, now, yeah, she's a 5-star recruit. Everybody is expecting a little bit more from her, but rotations seem to a little bit. I've seen some people on X had complained about why she's not getting a lot of playing time. Well, when you struggling against better competition, the speed of the game, the physicality of the game is going to make you. Now, not saying Addie Deal is not going to get better, because I think she will. I think she adjusted. I think it's going to take time throughout the season for her to get acclimated. And once she gets some of them top tier games and the rough games out the way, I think she'll be fine. And that's why you see Jensen doesn't play her as well, but she plays her enough. Now, she did, with Chit Chat Wright being out, Addie Deal did pick up a lot of minutes in the game, so, and that's a good sign. Give a little bit more self-confidence. But Jen Jensen did went into detail, so we're gonna listen to what Jen Jensen had to say about this and everything like that.
I was extremely impressed and pleased with their resolve. Even during the game, that it was a scarier situation when Chat went down. The gym kind of goes quiet, and she's definitely banged up. And so you see her kind of how she goes off, but for a team to kind of keep in the moment and a team as close as ours, or really any team, but Chat is just a beloved leader. And so for them to kind of keep their wits about them and that next person in philosophy, that was, I thought, really, really the best part of that Baylor game was be able to pull that out. So I thought we handled that really well. And then it moved right on into Miami. And, I thought Strimlow really, really did a great job, stepping up.
You had Taylor Strimlow basically play a game and a half as the starting point guard. Just what did you see from her in that game and a half, and what confidence did that give you that you do have a true backup point guard on the roster in her?
Well, Taylor is just that kid that she leans into moments. She has since the minute I recruited her. And then when you get here, the game is bigger, faster, stronger. But she's just that consummate team player. It doesn't matter the role that kid has. She embraces it, and she'll do whatever it takes for a team to be successful. And, she worked on her ball handling over the summer just in case, she gets in those situations. So I just can't say enough about her. It's just such a great story. I mean, last year she went down and we faced a team with a lot of pressure. She had a lot of turnovers in the first quarter down in Cancun, but she still had amazing moments in that tournament. And throughout the year, she had so many hustle plays that helped us be successful last year. But fast forward to this year, a similar situation, as you said, Dargan, happens. And that kid becomes player of the game. I mean, that's what you want to have happen. Some people, they worry and they kind of go inward. That kid just went outward, and she had no idea how many minutes she was going to play here. She had probably gotten, some of the least amount of minutes as we've been trying to work in some young kids. So for her to be ready, it just shows you what type of leader and player she is. And I couldn't be happier for her. Or more thankful that she's playing so well.
On Thursday night against Baylor, Emily kind of went for the kill shot there. Maybe not when you would have wanted her to, but does that give you confidence that you have a play?
Emily, but we have to continue to progress through the steps.
Coach,
Last year,
go ahead, Kyle.
last year, close games were something that you guys struggled in. There were a number of games that, whether it came down to the final shot or the final possession, that you guys just kind of fell on the wrong side of. I know you probably would have liked to score more than 57 and 64 in your 2 games down there, but how much is a takeaway just that so far you've been able to find a way in close games and hopefully flip the coin from last year in the way that it went?
Yeah, I think that is the positive. I feel like, you in sport, you have to find ways to be on the positive end of the scoreboard. And that's what makes it so fun. Arguably, your most reliable player at this point, offensively and defensively, you got to find any way, anyhow to do it. And for that team to do that, Chad has really turned into a leader for us. She's quiet, but
I'm trying to get
playing this year is in a whole different role. And so learning that offense, it's going to take a little bit of time.
Coach, where is Addie Deal compared to where you thought?
Okay, there we go. That's what I'm looking for right there, is the Addie Deal.
A late run, kind of like Ava did last year.
Yeah, I think I think Addie had a really nice tournament down there. I think so many times, she's probably putting a little pressure on the point production, but I think how she's understanding spacing and places that we want to be in our offense. But I think she definitely is progressing. I think that's an interesting step. But if you look at a lot of, there's a lot of great freshmen in the country that they're also progressing through the steps. This new era sometimes, for the good and the bad, it puts a lot of expectations and hype on people. But when you come in, we just have to let that process settle. And
see, this is the one thing that I think is very, very important. I think when you come in as a 5-star recruit, you have so much pressure on you, and that you want to be able to kind of like the expectation is for you to produce when you come in. But sometimes it also goes by the team makeup as well, what the team is constructed, how well, who's the players on this team. Because I will already have some good players in place, and they already have transfers in place too. So it's not so much of Addie has to come in and be the star right then and there. She could go through the progression and develop into that star throughout the season. And I still believe that she's going to make it that way. She's going to be that way. But I don't think that, the overly expectations of her, because same thing with McKenna Walisco that's coming in next year. People are going to expect for her to produce. So I think Jensen is trying to be patient with her, not rush a little bit, allow her to feel out, and then play her in spots where she's going to be comfortable in the game.
I'm really happy with how she's working and managing that. But I do think you're going to continue to see her trajectory. But I think that, what that'll take is her just dropping those shoulders and really trusting that process and continually to work through these steps. But I thought she had a really solid tournament. I liked a lot of things that we saw down there. And I'm pretty certain we're going to continue seeing that. So I hope we'll have a continued progression. But I think you'll see her impacting. Ava had that, the end of the season, really that push. I'd like to think with Addie, you're going to see that even more consistently a little sooner. And I'm not talking about the flash. I think Ava got like, that Big Ten tournament last year. She had that run out, game against Michigan State. I think we just need Addie to be able to handle that 2 and some 1 and make those passes and hit those shots and, make that catalyst for the offense. And I think you're going to see her offense rise with that. But I don't think we need to focus that it's going to be this explosive offense, because I think that's the thing that so many people want to, look at and be like, oh, that kid's scoring this many points. And Addie's got a lot to her game. It doesn't just have to be the points.
Coach, you mentioned
I like that by Jensen. I really do like that by Jensen. I like that she was able to say, "Hey, Addie's gonna come along. She has a whole lot in her bag," and people look at it and say, "Oh, she was a scorer in high school." Even Addie said herself that, "Hey, it's going to take time because they're gonna want me to play the one." I think the more as she get comfortable playing the one, I think it's going to be good because especially when you need to give Chit Chat that blow, because you already know that Taylor Strimlow could do it, but we need Addie to do it too, and she has to score, pick and choose. I think to me, I think Addie and Chit Chat should work out together. That's just my thing. They could feed off each other, learn from each other. I think that for Addie, she could take a page out of Taylor Strimlow and Chit Chat and say, well, this is what they do. And not says copy their game, but actually kind of like mimic some stuff where you could be good with it. But I think Addie will be good. I think these games with Chit Chat being out is going to help her a little bit, get a little bit more comfortable. And she has to be able to make these passes, like Jensen said, and be a full general also, not just a scorer. Because like I say, everybody can't be Caitlin Clark, but you could be some kind of version, of yourself. So anyway, let me know what you think about Jensen. Comments on Addie Deal. What's your thoughts on Addie Deal? What do you feel like Addie Deal needs to work on? What do you see from Addie Deal that is good and bad, and what her progression will be throughout the season? So again, like, comment, subscribe. This is Live Wire Sports Media. This is your Tuesday Takeover Edition. Guess what? And if it ain't live, it's the wire.